Hello everyone, this is Eric with His and Hers Hobbies, coming to you live from the workbench. Well, okay, it's not live, it's in video form, but hey, we're going to talk about some of the tools that I use. First off, talking about trying to encourage more people to get into the hobby. There's always this concern of price getting into model specific tools or paints. I'm going to tell you that use what you have. Start out wherever you need to start out. You have your very first model kit, and maybe perhaps you have your first tube of model glue, or perhaps super glue. Either one of those to work. But now you want to paint your model. You can go out and spend your money on the model specific paints, which, as you can see here, this little bitty can was $6 at Hobby Lobby. I got this for this particular color, which is Purplicious. It's going to be for a build, a specific build actually, and it was the only purple I could find. But as I said, I just got back into the hobby 7 years ago. I had to start with what I had. Well, going to Walmart, you can pick up a cheap X-Acto knife with a bunch of fresh blades. And these X-Acto knives are really useful multi-tools. It's not just for cutting. It's not just for cleaning up your parts. You can also use it very carefully to scribe lines. So let's say we're looking at this here. We could use it if we wanted to scribe a line. You're going to use the back of the blade. We want that line right there along there to be a little bit deeper. You use that. It's a great little tool. Helps with a lot of projects. I also managed to pick up a cheap, bigger but cheap kit of X-Acto knives with various blades and tips and whatnot from Walmart, as a matter of fact, and it had this in it. I was using this or one of these for the longest time to recreate panel lines or like door seams on a car, or the actual panels where the panels are on model aircraft. I had been back in the hobby for 7 years and I just bought me one of these. As you can see, it's already getting a little dusty. This is specifically for plastic models and creating your rescribing your panel lines. But as you can see, it's still in the package. I just got it after 7 years because I was working with what I had. I have seen people do this, get a sewing needle and wrap the end of the threading end of the sewing needle in tape, so it'll go in here and cinch it down real good and hard, and that'll help create a fine line scribing tool. Or I have seen people use certain nails, framing nails, for like picture frames to do the same thing. Use what you have. These are some of the model specific paints I've gotten. But again, over 7 years, this is what it's taken to, well, build up a collection of paints, specific paints. Working with what I had, I have used these from Walmart, the Apple Barrel craft paints. These are acrylic paints, easy cleanup with water. And they work really, really well for doing a lot of projects. When using these, thin them down like 2 parts paint, 1 part water, and apply multiple thin layers. When you do that, it allows even spread and drying, so you get a flat, even surface. But these also work really well since I've moved into more of the enamels and other acrylics, such as those from Tamiya. These work really well for creating rust effects, such as what we see here on this barrel. The base coat over the primer is an enamel red, and the textured paint, obviously I'm not quite done with this, but the texture, the paint there, is craft paint stippled on with a sponge. And later on I'll use my favorite paintbrush here, and I will paint in actual little details, give it that little bit inner, deeper rust, all with the craft paints. Now I'm going to say something that may drive some experienced modelers crazy, and they will argue against it. But I also recommend these here are normally $3 to $4 at Walmart or any one of your local stores. These work really well on the plastic models. If you run into an issue, as I saw earlier, I was watching a video from a YouTuber who had done a model, and he was concerned about what's called orange peeling. It's where the paint goes on, but some way, reason or another, this paint happened to react with either the underlying primer or the straight plastic itself. And he was actually posing the question, how do you take care of the orange peel? Well, if you look at an orange, it's got all those dimples, it's kind of bumpy. Well, that's the same thing can happen sometimes with your paint. What you want to do if you come across that, whether you're using the 2X or the model specific paints, what you want to do, especially like on your car bodies, is starting with 1,000 grit paper, get you a big old bowl of warm water, like a old Tupperware dish, fill it with warm water, and put a couple of drops of dish soap in there, non-abrasive dish soap like Dawn. The reason being is the Dawn, the soap itself, breaks the surface tension of the water. Anyway, you're going to take this 1000 grit. You start at your 1000 grit, go to your 1500 grit, your 2000 grit, your 2500 grit, your 3000 grit sandpapers, but you're going to dip the car body in the warm water with the sandpaper, and you're, without applying pressure, you're going to go over this real soft, real smooth, and you're going to start taking away that orange peel. Once you have the bulk of the car body done in the 3000 grit, anywhere that you have accidentally gone through, obviously you let your car body dry, let it air dry completely. Don't use paper towels or anything to dry it off because you'll get lint. But you let it air dry. Once it's dried, then you reshoot another coat, light coat of the same paint, and let it sit and dry. See if that has covered up and or taken care of the orange peel. If not, then you're moving on to your next level. Get into your 1500 grit. Go in there real light. You're not trying to get through the paint, you're just doing the surface of the paint. It's more like a buff, and you're using sandpaper to do it. Once you've done the 1500 over the entire car body, as long as you haven't gone through the paint, then you go on to your 2000 grit. Keep it wet. Keep going over it. Keep dipping the car. Go over it. Or the plane, or whatever you're working with. But you keep doing that until eventually you're in your 3000 grit, 4000 grit, 5000 grit sandpapers. What you wind up with, the finer the detail sandpaper, the shinier the paint, your paint job will be. Once you're done with that, then in the oddest sense, I discovered this watching these videos. You can get you some Pledge floor polish. I happen to get this bottle at Walmart. Once everything is dry, all your sanding is done, and your paint is situated, you can hit it with an ultra gloss coat of paint. This one happens to be semi-gloss clear. Hit it with your clear coat, or you can go over it with that floor polish. I have also seen people that use Meguiar's the actual car polish and buff that in. You get you a nice soft cloth and buff that in, going over your paint job. You'll wind up with a really sharp paint job on a plastic model. So use what you have, such as these alligator clips. I use these with wooden dowels, and I use them to hold parts such as this barrel. As you can see, now I've got a strip of tape here because the center is going to be a different color. But working with what I have, alligator clip, dowel, keeps your hands away from most of the paint. The various tools starting out cheap, and you can build from there. So again, your first model kit, you don't have to go all out and buy all kinds of fancy things in order to build a model. Start somewhere. Build your experience from there. Otherwise, wind up spending tons of money like I have. This really wasn't that expensive, but it was still something I had been doing with one of these for several years now. But it's okay, because I wanted something specific for a specific job, and I eventually got it. 7 years back to the hobby, 7 years to get that tool. So again, this is Eric with His and Hers Hobby Headquarters. Remember to like, subscribe, share, comment, follow us over on Facebook. Oh, and these over here are little bits for that AMT Autocar A64B. Just so you know, it's out there. But yes, again, like, subscribe, share, comment, follow us on Facebook. This is Eric with His and Hers Hobby Headquarters. Have a good day.